Speaker, Lieutenant Jeffrey Mandrick from the Royal Australian Navy and Defence Force Recruiting. Give him a hand, everyone, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, perfect, excellent. So my name's Jeff. I'm an electrical engineer from the Royal Australian Navy. I've been doing the job now for 10 years, and part of my responsibilities, I'm responsible for all the ship's radars, communication systems, weapon systems, and I'm also one of the explosives experts on board our warships. I'm here at the moment from Defence Force Recruiting, and I'm here to talk to you about all the different career opportunities we have going at the Defence Force at the moment. We have over 260 different roles, and I'll try to touch on a few of those roles today while we go through this. Excellent. So a bit about the Australian Defence Force. Who are we? What do we do? So the heart of everything we do, our whole purpose, our whole reasons for being, is to defend our nation, our borders, our people, and our way of life. So a bit about what we do. We do help communities, particularly with natural disaster and humanitarian relief. I was seeing recently on the news that we did partake in the flood recovery in northern New South Wales and southern East Queensland. And also a few months ago in Tonga with the tsunamis, the Navy sent 3 warships over there to assist the local communities. So really rewarding work, and I find it's one of the best parts that I get to do as part of my role. And along there as well, support our allies and international partners and to do some international operations as well. So we are a Defence Force, so we do train for combat situations. So a big part of what we do as well is train to make sure that we are ready if called upon by the government. So there's 2 main entry pathways into the Defence Force. It can be the general or officer entry. The main way we like to describe the difference between these two, we like to use an analogy with a sporting team. So all your general entry personnel, they're your players actually playing the game of soccer out there on the field and actually completing with the game. And your officer entries, they're all the supporting people in the background that enable the players to be their best and do what they love. So that could include like the coaches, the assistant managers, the logistics department, all the people in the background enabling that sports team to be their best, they're all your officers. So there's different requirements to get into both of these roles. So your general entry requirements, the majority of that you just need a high school qualification, so you can walk straight into a lot of those roles. Some require a TAFE qualification, as opposed to your officer entries where you do require a university qualification. There's several ways you can get a university degree as well. So we have our own Australian Defence Force Academy located in Canberra, and here we will fund your full university degree, pay your salary while you study, up to $55,000 in your last year. We'll cover half your rent, medical, dental all covered for. Every base has a gym as well, and you're free to use that as often as you like. And the best part about this, after you do get your degree qualification, you walk directly into a competitively paying job. We also have university sponsorship programs, so if you really like the look at UTS, it's an amazing campus. If you do want to choose to study here, you can study here, and we also pay you the same benefits, pay your salary and pay your uni fees, all your textbooks, all that's covered to enable you to be a full-time uni student. Then once you graduate, you'll have a job there waiting for you. If you are graduates, you can also join as a fully qualified graduate, bachelor qualified officer. Perfect. So I briefly mentioned before, we have over 260 different roles across the Defence Force. So everything from aviation to business, engineering, communications, IT, cybersecurity is a really big and growing environment, which I think a lot of you guys and girls are interested in today. We've got a hugely growing area there at the moment. Healthcare, doctors, nurses, dentists, logistics, all the people that are doing all that support work in the background. And also trades and apprentices. We have carpenters that are in the army that help build all your forward operating bases. So you have a ton of different roles. No matter what your big passion areas are, we've got a job somewhere in the Defence Force that is suited towards you. So up here on the screen are some of our really priority roles at the moment in the communications and IT field. Maritime warfare officers are actually really cool. They're the ones that actually, do drive the ship, taking all the data from all their, say, ship systems, or if you're in the Air Force, taking into consideration all the different capabilities, all the different units, and actually the ones making the decisions. Cyber operators, mind warfare officers, they're all the actual people that are actually then using some of the highest technology we have available in the Australian market. The Army there, you've got telecommunications technicians, ICT specialists, work with all the different networks that they use, cyber specialists, drone operators. Utilisation of drones is an immensely growing field at the moment as well. So we have a ton of drone pilot opportunities available throughout all 3 services. Particularly in the Air Force there as well, it's probably the most advanced in terms of cyber security at the moment. So we have both cybersecurity warfare officers, where you're in charge of leading a direct team of cyber warfare analysts. You set that direction for your teams to be able to set the direction, make sure all our systems are safe, and you're actively pursuing everything that we have against our key systems. Perfect. So why should you all consider a job in the Defence Force? It's very interesting and meaningful work. And you'll also never need to worry about losing your job because you'll always have a safe and secure job right there waiting for you. We are really big believers in flexible working arrangements as well. This can be a little bit difficult if you, say, are on board a ship out at sea or you're with an army unit out on operations out in the field somewhere. But a lot of the times you do actually spend at your home base, in your home port. And during those times, we are big believers in actively working from home and doing as much as we can to facilitate those requirements if we can. Very important. Lifelong friendships as well. All my closest mates are now all from the Defence Force, whether they're Army, Navy or Air Force. It's very close to the community. You meet some very friendly and very nice people. I've got married recently and pretty much everyone there was from the Defence Force. It was quite nice. Oh, thank you. Perfect. There's also very clear career progression as well. So no matter where you want to take your careers, all our career managers have it outlined exactly what you need to do, what qualifications you need to achieve in order to get to your ultimate goal points. Great salary and superannuation. Our superannuation is 16.4%, which may not mean a lot to you guys at the moment, but it's one of the highest and best super schemes we have going around the country at the moment. Free medical and dental, I mentioned that previously, and every base as well has free sport facilities or gyms that you're free to use as often or as little as you like. If you're not interested in a full-time commitment, we do also have an Army Reserve program as well. So with this scheme, you generally sign up to about 35 days of initial training, and after that point, you can work for as much or as little as you like. You can choose to work one day a week after work, or you could also choose to, say, work on a weekend, for example. Really cool because all this is tax-free, so really good side hustle if you're looking for that something on the side to earn a little bit more money. With the website on this scheme as well, if you put in your local postcode, you'll see all the different jobs that are available in your local area, so you don't need to travel too far. A lot of people often say, they're not sure quite what they want to do after they finish high school. So we had a perfect scheme that's tailored towards those people. It's called the Gap Year Program. So this is purely a 12-month commitment. Each service does it a little bit differently, so talk with the Navy first up. If you sign up for the Navy Gap Year Program, you get to try all the different roles that we have available in the Navy to see if any of those roles are quite applicable to you or that you find interesting. So if you're not sure where you want to go after you finish high school, this is a really good way to experience a ton of different roles and see if you find something that you do actually like. Over that 12 months, you can either say, yep, see, I want to try something else, or if you find something that you really like, it's very easy then to start your application process and go through and start working in that field directly. The Army and the Air Force are a little bit different. You've got to choose your particular role for these two services, and you spend your gap year doing that one particular role for the 12 months. There is a fitness standard that's part of our recruitment process. So if you like, you can take a photo of this. This is generally what you need to do as part of the recruitment process when you're coming through Defence Force recruiting. If these fitness standards do sound a bit daunting, we do have an app called the ADF Active app, which will produce a personalised training plan for you to ensure you meet that physical fitness requirement. And then a bit about the recruitment process. So all our applications can start off online at defencejobs.gov.au. Essentially, you'll start your application process and you'll be sent a jobs opportunity assessment, which is a short little assessment to tell us what type of roles you could be suited for across all three services. From there, you'll be assigned a careers coach, and they'll step you through step by step all the way through the process. You'll attend what's next known as our assessment day. Essentially, then you'll sit down with a doctor or a psychologist, and you sit down for your formal defence interview with one of our interviewers. If you are going for one of those officer roles, you can attend what's known as the Officer Selection Board that are looking for that leadership potential. As I briefly mentioned earlier, officers are in that leadership position. They've got large teams working directly for him or her. So that's what the board want to tease out, whether you have that leadership potential and can fulfil that role. From there, you'll do your fitness test, and then you'll be, right at the end, you'll be offered a job. Now, all the way through this process, you guys have the power to either pull the application at any point. You can make it all the way through, be offered the job right at the end, and then decide it's not quite for you, and you can walk out the door, no hard feelings, it's all good. And finally, here are just some ways to get connected. So if you do think any of those job roles we briefly spoke about, you think any of those are interesting, jump on defencejobs.gov.au, and we have pages and pages of information about each one of our 260 job roles. You'll see interviews with current serving personnel. You see exactly what they do on a day-to-day basis. You'll see what your training requirements are, and also what you get paid, because that's obviously very important as well. YouTube is a very good resource as well. If you type in defence jobs on there, you can see exactly, again, what people do visually on a day-to-day basis. Really good resource to use. Perfect. And that brings to about the end of my presentation. Are there any questions from anyone? Perfect. Got someone in the centre?
Yes, Lieutenant Sir. If I joined the Army Reserves, is there any chance that I would ever get to like see actual warfare, like if Australia went to
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the question was, if I do join as a reserve, will I go operation? Will I go to an active war zone? But if we are sending operations, we do use our active service personnel first, and we go through all those people first, and that's quite a large pool of resources. So it's quite unlikely that you'll be sent as a reservist to those areas. But it could happen, but it is very, very, very unlikely. Probably got a hand up on the right-hand side.
Yeah, hi. If you had the opportunity, would you change from the Navy to either the Army or the Air Force?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you do sign up, you sign up for an initial minimum period of service. So during that time, you expect to do the job that you signed up for. After that initial minimum period of service is done, you can choose to go to the Army or the Air Force to do any of the other 260 job roles that interest you. You can just put in a transfer application. There's no issue with that at all. Perfect question here.
Is there any new jobs that you think could be given to the Air Force, Army, or Navy with the advancement of technology?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So as a defence force, we are constantly striving to be in that cutting edge of technology. So we are constantly integrating new job roles and new positions. The largest growing areas at the moment are in cybersecurity, cyber warfare, and also drone operators and drone units. So they're probably the two fastest growing niches at the moment. But also, you might see on the news, we recently invested in nuclear submarines. So we are pushing the boundaries of that area as well, trying our best to compete in a very competitive world market.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yep, we got a question down here as well.
I wasn't aware. Is there a current active Australian Army or Australian Defence Force drone program, or would it just be with allies like the Americans?
Yep, fantastic question. Yep, so we do have our own drones across all three services, and do have drone pilots as well that are active across all three services. So yep, that's a huge industry at the moment, and there's lots of opportunities, and it's only growing, getting bigger year on year. Yep.
Apologies if this is a bit of a touching question, but what's it like? Because I recall you saying that you've been, like, I can't think of the term, but like you've been in war per se. What's it like on the battlefield?
Yeah, good question. I haven't personally been to a live operation zone, but I have deployed to various locations all around the world. Yeah, it is challenging. Spending time away from your family is always challenging as well. But there's no better feeling than coming home and getting free leave to spend some more time with your family as well, which is always something you do look forward to. To getting the chance to do flexible work arrangements when you do come back and rekindle with your family is a really important part of the job. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, there is definitely challenges there. Yep. So I didn't quite hear that.
How concerning is the situation in the Solomons?
Perfect. So the question was how concerning is the situation in the Solomon Islands? Yeah, there's lots of strategic implications there as well. And the whole Indo-Pacific region is an area that the Australian government is focusing on and is prioritising investments in different projects based upon what's going on. Yep. So the question was, what career path you need to take to fly fighter jets? Very popular question given Top Gun's out in the cinemas at the moment. So we do have a fast jet pilot position, and you can apply directly from high school. The minimum education requirements for that are Year 12 education with passes in English. So if you want to pursue that role, you can 100% directly apply for that. It's probably one of the most competitive positions we have going at the moment. So good luck. Yep.
Is there a gap year program for more cyber warfare roles?
Yeah, excellent. So the question was, is there a gap year program for cyber warfare officer roles? And the question is, yes. So there are positions, particularly in the Army and the Air Force directly in those areas. Or if you join the Navy gap year program, you'll touch a little bit on the cyber areas within your gap year. Yep.
I've heard from my time in cadets that if you were to go through ADFA and do a course in whatever it is, whether it be fighter pilots, for example, that after that course you are locked in for, say, 12 years or something, that you have to do that, and if you don't complete that service, you would have to pay your way out, so you're essentially locked in. Is that the case?
Yeah, fantastic question. So if we do pay for your university degree and your university qualification, there is a return of service obligation there that you have to work for us for a particular period of time. The standard rate, have to pay back the number of years you were sponsored plus one. So if we paid for, say, 2 years of a university degree, you'll generally owe us about 3 years back in service on return from there. So for example, for engineering, Navy Engineer is probably one of the highest as well for the sponsorship program. To work for 5 years as a Navy engineer if we do sponsor your program. The fast jet pilots, they take a lot of time actually in terms of training. I think their training is about 3 to 4 years before you actually start doing the role of a pilot. So that's why that scheme is about 9 years that you sign up for. It's because the training initially is so rigorous. But with that pilot role, you don't need a university qualification from there. So if you don't make quite through the program, you'll be offered another job, or you could move on after that time as well. So if you don't make it through the training, you don't need to do your full 9 years. There may be offered other opportunities, or you can try something else. Yep. Yeah, perfect. So the question was behind the scenes, are there lots of other jobs behind the scenes? And the answer is yeah, 100% yes. To say in logistics, definitely need food, water, supplies, all this types of stuff that actually to enable operation units to do what they do. 100%, there's a ton of work behind the scenes. Public relations, lawyers, doctors as well, both in terms of home bases and operation units as well. There's a ton of stuff being done all over the country, and even in projects. We are constantly trying to be on the cutting edge, so we have engineers that are working on future capabilities, where you want to take a defence force in the future, so you could be working in that space as well. So there's a ton of opportunities. Not everyone's up on that front line, or so to speak. Perfect. Yep. Excellent. So requirements for a helicopter pilot, majority of those are just a high school qualification, so you can come directly in from high school. There's no requirement to go to university for the pilot positions. Perfect. Yep.
Do your cyber warfare people work like with other industry people outside of military, or is it kind of military only?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So to really be competitive, there's innovations happening all over the world. So we definitely do have civilian partnerships and relationships with other key organisations. It helps keep us current on that leading edge as well, and ensures that we're all coming up together. Perfect. Got questions up there back? Yep.
With the one where you, like the job where you like, sorry, with the with the one where you try all the jobs in the Navy, are you actually on the scene like making decisions and stuff, or is it just like pretend, like somewhere else, like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So during that gap year program, your full responsibility is just to learn all the different job roles and see if you find something that you do like. In terms, you will potentially spend some time with some units. You may go to sea if you're in the Navy, for example, and all the stuff that they're doing on a day-to-day basis is real world. They're maintaining real equipment, where maybe part of a training exercise where we're actually playing pretend war games, but you're actually doing their jobs. So you get to experience exactly what day-to-day life is like. But in terms of actually having responsibility and making decisions, you're not quite qualified in that area yet, so you won't be expected to make decisions and make calls. I don't want to set you up for failure during this time as well. So you'll definitely have other people there supporting you, but your whole role there is to learn and develop your own understanding. On the back on the right-hand side?
Before the gap year, is there a chance for like work experience, like for the couple of weeks or something?
Yeah, definitely, because 12 months can be a really big commitment right off the bat. If you do Google the Defence Work Experience Program, there are several short week courses where you can actually try a little bit of some of the job roles and see if that is an area where you would like to spend a bit more of your time. See, if you do Google that, you'll see a ton of opportunities come up there. Yep, here on the left-hand side.
If you do, during the 12-month program, do you spend time overseas, and how long do you spend this time?
Yeah, excellent. That's a really good question. So of that 12-month program, generally the first few months will be some training to get you ready, give you that basic service knowledge. And then from there, you'll be sent to different units, potentially all around the country, just to learn what some people do. If you do, say, join the Navy, you could be lucky and go on a short trip overseas, but it won't be a long trip at all. Because the main purpose is to learn and experience a few things. Yeah, you won't be sent overseas for a long period of time. Yep, question here.
Do you think that the cybersecurity and cyber warfare is important for all, for the Australian Defence Force as a whole, or do you think it's more focused on one particular part, like the Air Force?
Yeah, great question. So it is, yeah, definitely an important factor for all three services. And all three services have adopted that challenge in slightly different ways. There are more positions in the Air Force, and we do leverage some of their experience for the other two services. So they are leading the air a little bit, but they still do work for the Navy and the Army and train some of our personnel to make sure that collectively all three services have access to that resource and that capability and are able to appropriately defend themselves. Yep, here on the right-hand side. Perfect. So the question was, what's it like to be an engineer in the Defence Force? It is awesome. None of my 2 days have been exactly the same in the 10 years of service that I've done so far to date. In my 10 years also, I can count on one hand the amount of times, say, a plan's been perfectly gone exactly according to the plan. Things always happen. So a big part of my job has always been able to think on my feet, come up with engineering solutions in quite often some time-critical circumstances, and push forward that capability and ensure that the ship can achieve its mission. So very interesting, very diverse role, and I can say I've never been bored for a single day in my 10 years of service. Yeah.
What's the least favorite thing about what you do?
Perfect. That's a good question as well. So I think for me personally, spending time away from family and friends is quite challenging. But always it comes back to it makes it that much sweeter when you do come back home from a decent trip away. Seeing your family and friends for the first time is a very heartwarming moment. The longest time I spent away from home straight has been about 4 months. That's generally the longest time you can expect it to be away from home. And that it's very short trips, so you still get a good period of time to spend time with your family and friends and build good relationships. Yeah, on the left-hand side.
For the engineering courses where you sponsor the university education for us, and then we go directly into a job, is that limited to your ADFA campus in Canberra? Or can you do it from like Sydney campuses too?
Yeah, great question. So you can do it at any university you like around the country. So with our own university in Canberra, you can apply that right at your own high school and we'll fund your full degree for you and you go straight into a job on completion. If you want to study at another university around Australia, you can apply for that any time after your first semester. And generally the application process takes about 3 to 8 months. So generally if you want to study somewhere else, you tend to pay for the first year and a half for your degree yourself. Then once you're offered a job and you accept the job, we'll pay for the remainder of your degree from there. Perfect. Yep, on the right-hand side.
Is there a high demand in naval engineering?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. So we are pushing and trying to further develop our capability all the time. We've seen on the news recently, the government announced that we want to grow our defence force capability by quite a significant figure. So there is a huge demand for engineering, particularly in cyberspace as well. So we've got a ton of jobs available. I think we've got time for one more question before time's up. So, yep, jump in. Perfect. So the question was, have I worked on different ships? And yes, I have. I started my career on one of our oldest ships in the fleet, which is now all decommissioned, the FFGs. Everything was analogue. It was really good to get hands-on and get to try different things. It's like almost like going back in time. And I recently got off HMS Hobart, which is our newest destroyers in the fleet. The change of technology was immense. And I found that being able to get hands-on and seeing everything in analogue to then going, everything's digital and very, very advanced was a huge step in time, but it was actually amazing to see both those different capabilities. That's my time done. Thank you so much for your attention today. Thank you. Perfect. If anyone would like more information, it's all on our website, but thanks for your attendance.